Today we are going to talk about the Greek Pantheon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some background information on each of the Olympian gods. Now, just FYI, this does not include Hades. Hades is not an Olympian. He lives in the underworld. So it's the rest of these guys sitting up here on Mount Olympus. So I'm going to give you some background information, and then at the end there's going to be a video that kind of goes through the different. It talks about the different gods and their stories and that. So you get a little more with that. I'm just here to give you some background information. Okay, let's get it started. So, Mount Olympus. In Greek and Roman mythology, Mount Olympus is the meeting place and the home of the major players. So, of the 12, there are 12 Olympian gods. They live on Mount Olympus. And it's really unsure whether or not Mount Olympus is in heaven or if it's somewhere on earth. But we do know that the Greeks did name their tallest peak in Greece Mount Olympus, and that's right here, okay? But the 12 Olympians were the major gods and goddesses with prominent roles in Greek mythology. So you could see it's 6 and 6 gods and goddesses, and then you have, like I said, you can't see them because the thing's covering it up. Go away. There's Hades down on the bottom there, and he is in the underworld. All right, so let's get it started with Zeus. So Zeus is the king of the gods, of the mortals and the weather. His Roman name will be Jupiter. So there's going to be a Roman name for each of these. So when we do talk about Rome, you're going to have this as like as kind of a background information for you. So Zeus and Jupiter, same guy. His symbol is a thunderbolt, and he impregnated or married numerous gods and mortals, goddesses and mortals. I'm sorry. So he is responsible for many, many children, much to his wife's chagrin. Okay. Hera. So Hera is queen of the gods, marriage and birth. She is the daughter of Cronus and Rhea. So as is Zeus. Okay. So she's Zeus's sister and his wife. Okay. And her Roman name is Juno, and Zeus constantly cheats on her. Her biggest character trait is that she is always jealous. Okay, so that's her biggest character trait. And I'm sure you can imagine that's pretty justified considering how many children he has had that she's not been the mother of. Poseidon's a god of the sea, earthquakes, and horses. He is brother to Zeus and Hera, and his Roman name is Neptune. Okay, so you can see there's Poseidon there. His symbols are dolphins, tridents, and fish spears. So you can see this is the trident here, and then he's got the horses pulling him along in his water chariot there. Hestia. Hestia is the goddess of hearth and home. She's Zeus's oldest sister, and she was wooed by Poseidon. So Poseidon wanted to marry her, but she swore to remain a virgin, and so she never gets married. Her Roman name is Vesta, and they even have a temple built for her in the Forum in Rome. Demeter is the goddess of fertility and agriculture, so fruits and grains. That's why in this picture here she's holding fruits and grains, and she's also goddess of the seasons, and she's Zeus's sister as well. She is mother to Persephone, who we'll talk about in a moment, and her Roman name is Ceres. Athena, she's the goddess of wisdom, war, arts, and justice, and she's Zeus's favorite child. And so the way she was born was Zeus had a headache, and all of a sudden his skull cracked open, and his daughter came out of it. Okay, so she doesn't really have a mother. She was built or born from Zeus's head, and so that's why she's the goddess of wisdom. Her companion is the goddess of victory, Nike, and her symbol is an owl, and her Roman name is Minerva. Ares. Ares is the god of war and battle. He's the son of Zeus and Hera. He is merciless and bloody, and he's not liked even by his father, so Zeus doesn't even like him. And he supported the Trojans in the Trojan War. Obviously, we talked about that in the last set of notes, so that is the losing side. And he's accompanied on the battlefield by Phobos, which represents fear, Deimos, who represents terror, and then his sons. And his Roman name is Mars. Hermes. So Hermes is the messenger of the gods, and he guides the souls of the dead to the underworld. And he's the god of land travel, literature, and poetry. And he's swift and athletic, and he's the son of Zeus and a nymph. And his Roman name is Mercury. Okay, so he has these shoes that with the wings on them, and you can buy them from Adidas right there, and they're very stylish. But he's got these shoes with the wings, and so that allows him to travel very far, very fast. And he's Mercury is obviously the planet closest to the sun because Hermes often gets real close to the sun. Apollo. So Apollo is the god of the sun, of archery, healing medicine, music. So he played the lyre and dance, and he's the son of Zeus, and he's the twin brother to Artemis. And he's the father of Asclepius, who is the god of healing and medicine. And he has the staff, and actually, it kind of looks like this staff here. It's a little bit different, but it looks like this. Asclepius has a staff that is the symbol for the WHO, and so he's often referred to with healing and medicine. And then Apollo's Roman name is easy to remember because it's still Apollo. Artemis. So Artemis is the goddess of the hunt, of wild animals, fertility, and the moon. She's often identified with Selene, who's the goddess of the moon. Her Roman name is Diana, and her symbols are the crescent moon above her head. And you can see this depicted in the sculpture here, where she has the crescent moon above her head. Hephaestus. Hephaestus is the god of fire and blacksmiths. So he is the son of Zeus and Hera, but Zeus wasn't technically involved in the making of Hephaestus. So his Roman name is Vulcan, so he's the god of volcanoes, but he is in charge of making Zeus's lightning bolts. And he was born weak and crippled and ugly and just very gross. And Aphrodite is going to be forced to marry Hephaestus, and she cheats on him constantly with Ares. Okay, so who happens to be her uncle, I believe. So Aphrodite is the goddess of love and beauty. So when Cronus castrated his father, Uranus, he threw his genitals into the sea, and thus Aphrodite was born of the foam that was created on the sea. This is a depiction, this is called the birth of Venus. So Venus is Aphrodite's Roman name, but the birth of Venus, and it is Aphrodite being born from that foam. So her son is Eros, and like I said, her Roman name is Venus. Her symbols are the dolphin, the swan, and the pomegranate. And like I said, she is married to Hephaestus, much to her chagrin. She does not appreciate that. Okay, so this right here is the Greek mythology creation story. Make sure we have enough volume here so you can hear it. And here we go.
This video on Greek mythology is brought to you by Captivating History. In the very beginning, chaos ruled the universe. It was the great nothingness. Boring? Of course. Perhaps the sheer blandness of all that empty nothingness forced Gaia, goddess of Earth, to spring into existence. Mother Earth Gaia was so full of fertility that she gave birth to two other primordial gods without having to mate with anyone. Gaia's two sons were named Uranus, god of heaven, and Pontus, god of the ocean. Together with Uranus, Gaia gave birth to several monsters and titans. Uranus felt a great deal of disgust for the children his wife gave him, so he ended up locking away the Hecatoncheires and Cyclops in his uncle, Tartarus, who was the underworld, far below the surface of Gaia. Another child of Gaia and Uranus was Cronus, who was the youngest of the first-generation titans. The faith of his imprisoned brothers made Cronus more aware of his own vulnerabilities. Maybe that gave him sufficient ambition to overcome any fear, more specifically the fear of his father, Uranus. Cronus ended up wounding his father, and the blood gave birth to the Erinyes, giants, and Malia. With Uranus being wounded, The Hecatoncheires and Cyclops were freed from Tartarus. Gaia was relieved that her youngest sons were finally liberated. Cronus, feeling the ambitious pride swell within him, took advantage of the situation and claimed the universe as his own. He now became the new king of the gods. But Cronus and Gaia had different reasons for wanting to hurt Uranus. Cronus despised the Cyclops and Hecatoncheires as much as his father and brother Uranus did. At the first opportunity, Cronus put his 6 younger brothers back in the underworld of Tartarus, greatly angering his mother at the betrayal. Despite his arrogance and cruelty, in some respects, Cronus's rule was viewed as a golden age. During his time as king of the gods, the Malaya gave birth to the first humans. These men lived for thousands of years, but maintained a youthful appearance. This was a time of tranquility and nobility of spirit, and the young, fragile race of humans mingled with the gods. Cronus also married his older sister, Rhea, and together they had Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and then Zeus. With his side, Cronus became associated with the harvest and its celebration. His rule was filled with abundance. But when anyone does a crime, it's only natural for them to suspect that others may readily do the same crime against them. Cronus had betrayed his father and taken the crown from him. Why wouldn't any one of his children do the same to him? So Cronus ended up hating his own children more than Uranus had hated his. One day, before any of the children were born, both his mother Gaia and father Uranus asked to speak with their king, and warned him that he would also be overthrown as king by his own children. So, as each child was born, Cronus figured that eating them would solve the problem. This must have concerned the other gods horribly, but especially the children's mother, Rhea. After 5 children had been swallowed whole, Rhea vowed to never let it happen again. With the birth of her next child, Rhea cleverly offered up a swaddling cloth with the boulder wrapped inside, instead of her last son, Zeus. Cronus swallowed the cloth and rock and was satisfied that another threat had been removed. Rhea did not want her only remaining son to be discovered, so she took him to Crete. There, she found a cave wherein Zeus could be raised. Growing up in secrecy, Zeus learned to hate his father. And why not? Cronus wanted Zeus dead and loved power more than his own children. Years later, when Zeus had become an adult, he chose the Titaness, Metis, as his wife. It had been said that Metis was the wisest being who had ever lived, and Zeus admired her for it. Metis told her husband about a potion that could force Cronus to vomit up the divine children he had swallowed, Zeus's siblings. Zeus figured that, with their help, he may be able to do something against his murderous father. Because it had been years since Zeus's birth, and years since Rhea had borne any children, Cronus was no longer concerned about the predicted threat to his reign. Even so, young Zeus decided to camouflage himself as a cupbearer. Such a job would give him the perfect opportunity to slip the emetic drug into Cronus's wine. Cronus, of course, liked the idea that others were eager to serve him, so he accepted Zeus as a cupbearer. And on that first day of Zeus's new duty, the young god slipped the drug into the drink, and the king of gods had his fill of wine, laced with a potion that would lead to his undoing. Suddenly, Cronus reached forward, clutching his belly. The vomiting had started. First, out came a huge stone wrapped in swaddling cloth. Next, it was a full-grown god, Zeus's slightly older brother Poseidon. Then came Hades, Hera, Demeter, and finally Hestia, in the reverse sequence in which they had been swallowed. As Cronus lay on the ground, moaning in his drunken, drugged stupor, Zeus and Metis escorted away each of the other gods as they came forth. Zeus and Metis certainly had something to celebrate, but this was not enough. Most of the other titans would likely come to Cronus's aid. After all, he was their king. Then, Zeus remembered that his grandmother, Gaia, still wept because some of her own children had been locked up in Tartarus since their birth, first by Uranus and then by Cronus. 3 Hecatoncheires and 3 Cyclops would greatly improve his chances of beating his father. While Cronus was still befuddled by the drink he had been given, Zeus hurried down to the underworld of Tartarus. There, he killed the fierce dragon which guarded the entrance. Then, he threw open the door and bid his uncles to emerge. "Come forth, my uncles. You are now free." Together, they found a safe place to live on Mount Olympus while they plotted against Cronus. The Cyclops were so thankful for having been set free, they fashioned gifts for the gods who helped them. For Zeus, they created a lightning bolt that the young god could throw at his enemies. For Hades, they created a helmet of invisibility, which allowed the god to come and go unseen. For Poseidon, they fashioned a massive trident. Each of these weapons would be put to good use in the 10-year war between the Titans and the Olympian gods. Imagine battles of Zeus with his lightning bolts zapping every Titan in sight. Imagine Hades sneaking into the Titan camp at Mount Othrys and stealing all their supplies without anyone knowing, or setting fire to their tents. Imagine Poseidon poking all waterborne Titans with his massive trident. And picture the three Hecatoncheires hurtling small mountains at the Titans like rapid-fire machine guns. Ultimately, the Olympians won the war. Because Atlas had led the Titans in battle, he was given the special punishment of being forced to hold up the heavens on his shoulders. Quite often, in modern literature, Atlas is pictured holding up the earth, but this is a misconception. All of the other Titans who participated in the war were locked up in Tartarus. As a reward for their indispensable help in winning the war, Zeus let the Hecatoncheires, Briareos, Kodos, and Gyges, guard the gates to Tartarus to ensure the Titans stayed locked up. Amongst the Olympian gods, Zeus divided up the universe based on each god's individual attributes. For himself, he took the sky. This should seem obvious, because lightning always occurs there. Hades was given the underworld to rule. This included not only the incarcerated Titans, but all dead humans who made their way to Tartarus across the river Styx. Poseidon was given reign over the oceans and seas. If you want to know more about the Olympian rule that followed the war, check out our book on Greek mythology. It is available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Please note that we also have other books covering other mythologies, such as Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, and Celtic mythology. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the like button and subscribe.
All right, so that is the Greek Pantheon. So I hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you later.